Welcome to Learn This Game, where you can learn about board games and how they are played. Today, we'll be looking at Friday. In this video, there'll be a general description and overview of the game. We'll inventory the components, and we'll go through gameplay, including setup, sample turns, and victory conditions. In the description, there'll be some helpful links. There'll also be a timestamp index so you can navigate directly to any part of the presentation. If you want to skip this introduction and go straight to the setup and gameplay, you can go to the timestamp index now in the description. And if you find this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. And you can also leave a comment to let us know what game you'd like to see reviewed. Or if you have the game, share your opinion. Friday was published by Rio Grande Games in 2011 and designed by Freitag. In this solitaire deck-building game, you'll be helping the recently stranded Robinson to survive the island and ultimately defeat pirates so he can escape the island. The age recommendation is 14 and older. You can select difficulty levels from easy to hard, and each game averages about 25 minutes to play. The game is designed for one player. There are no multiplayer variants. An app is not required to play and there is no app assistance. However, there are standalone apps available on Apple and Google Play. There are no expansions for this game, but there are other games in this series by the same designer, based thematically on the day of Friday. Now that you've seen a brief introduction to the game, let's get into the game itself. Friday is a solitaire deck-building game that uses cards and small boards. Dice are not used. Thematically, this game is based upon the circumstances and characters in the novel Robinson Crusoe. The player assumes the role of Friday, who assists Robinson in surviving and escaping from an island. Now let's see how to win the game. You will be helping Robinson overcome a series of challenges known as hazards, as depicted on the hazard cards. As indicated on the hazard storage board, Robinson will have to survive 3 phases or playthroughs of the hazard deck in order to meet the final challenge, which is fighting and defeating 2 pirate ships. You win the game if you can defeat both pirate cards. Now let's review the components. Friday comes with a 16-page rulebook and a 4-page supplementary guide that lists the components and shows how to set up the game. There are a total of 72 playing cards. These include 3 phase cards that help you keep track of the phases. There are 10 pirate cards, of which you will draw 2 at random per game to fight at the end of the game. There are 59 fighting cards. These include 18 Robinson cards. These are the cards you will be using to fight hazards throughout the game. There are 30 hazard cards. These are the challenges that Robinson will have to overcome in 3 phases to eventually fight the pirates at the end of the game. There are 11 aging cards, which include 8 normal aging cards and 3 difficult aging cards. The normal aging cards are indicated by the dark bearded icon, and the difficult cards are indicated by the white icon. There are 3 storage boards used to place the 3 decks for aging cards, hazard cards, and Robinson cards. And finally, there are 22 green wooden tokens representing life points. Now let's set up the game for our first playthrough. We'll set up the game for level 1, which is the easiest level. First, we'll place the 3 phase cards in the play area with the green card on top and the red card on the bottom. Each time we cycle through the hazard deck, we'll move to the next phase. Next, draw 2 pirate cards at random and place them aside for now. These will be used at the end of the game if Robinson survives that long. Next, place 20 life tokens into a pool and 2 in the reserve area. Life points lost during the game will be moved to the reserve area. Next, place the 3 storage boards from left to right, the hazard board, the aging board, and the Robinson board. These will show where to place the decks of cards. Shuffle the hazard cards and place them face down on the hazard storage board. Leave some room for the discarded hazard cards. Next, shuffle the Robinson cards and place them face down on the Robinson storage board. Also leave some room for a discard pile. Also leave some room for destroyed fighting cards. As the game progresses, undesired cards can be removed from the Robinson deck and discarded permanently. Next, remove the aging card, Very Stupid, which has a -3 value from the game. This card is not used at level 1. Next, Shuffle the 3 hard aging cards and place them face down on the aging storage board. Then shuffle the 8 normal aging cards and place them face down on top of the 3 difficult aging cards. Leave some room between the Hazard and Robinson storage boards. The Hazard card will be placed in the middle, the free Robinson cards to the left, and any purchased additional cards will be on the right. The game is now set up for play. Now let's go through some sample turns to see how the game is played. Recall that we are playing level 1, which is the easiest level. Friday is a deck building game, which means we'll be trying to improve our fighting deck in order to be powerful enough to defeat the pirates at the end of the game. The Robinson deck is our fighting deck. We are going to try to remove the weaker cards and add stronger cards as we overcome hazards throughout the game. This card, for example, has 0 fighting points and no special abilities, so this is an example of a weak card we will try to remove from our deck. When we defeat cards from the Hazard deck, we will be able to add the Robinson side of the cards to our deck, thus improving our deck as we proceed in the game. This fighting card, for example, has 2 fighting points and the special ability of adding 1 life point to our pool. Let's start our first turn. We start each turn by drawing the top 2 Hazard cards from the Hazard deck. We now review both cards and select one to fight. In order to determine the best card to fight, we consider the following factors. The name of the card is for narrative purposes and does not affect gameplay. We start in the green phase, so we look to see the Hazard values in the green circles. In this turn, the Hazard cards have a 4 and 0. This indicates the number of fighting points it takes to defeat this Hazard and convert the bottom half into a knowledge card. The number on the left indicates how many free cards we can draw from our fighting deck when we fight this Hazard. We can also look at the Robinson side of the cards to see their fighting values and special abilities. For example, if we win this card, we will be able to put this card into our fighting deck to play in future turns. This card provides 3 fighting points and a special skill which is explained in the rulebook. Since we do not have many fighting points in our starting fighting deck, let's select the card with the 0 Hazard value and place it in the center of the play area. We can place the other Hazard card into the Hazard discard pile. This Hazard allows us to draw 1 free card, so we draw 1 top card from our Robinson deck and place it to the left of the Hazard card. All free cards are placed to the left of the Hazard card. This card has a fighting point value of 0. Since we have to have a fighting point value of 0 or greater to defeat this Hazard card, we defeat this card and do not have to draw any additional cards. Our fighting card also has a special ability. You can decide to use the special ability of any drawn face-up fighting card on either side of the Hazard card, and in any order if there are more than 1. You can only use the special ability once per turn in the fight against the Hazard. This special ability allows us to take 2 points from the reserve pool and add them to our life pool. After the special ability has been completed, the card is turned 90 degrees to show it has been used. This is useful when there are multiple fighting cards in play to keep track of exhausted special abilities. Since we beat the Hazard, we can place the newly converted Hazard card and our original fighting card in the Robinson discard pile. The Hazard card will then be used as one of our fighting cards when we eventually reshuffle and replenish the Robinson deck. We are now ready to start the next turn. During this turn, we'll see what happens when we do not defeat the Hazard card. We start the turn by drawing 2 Hazard cards. We will select the card with the green Hazard value of 2 and place it in the middle of the play area while discarding the other card. We need at least 2 fighting points to defeat this Hazard card as indicated by the green circle. The card indicates we are allowed to draw up to 3 free cards. We draw the first Robinson fighting card, which has a fighting value of -1. After we draw the first card, we can decide to stop drawing even if this is fewer than the number allowed by the white box on the Hazard card. Since we are now 3 points away from defeating the Hazard, we draw another fighting card which has a value of 0. We now draw our third card with 1 fighting point. Now our fighting points collectively total 0, so we still need 2 points to defeat the Hazard. Since we have drawn the maximum amount of free cards, we have the option of drawing another fighting card from the Robinson deck, but each additional card will cost 1 life point and will be placed to the right of the Hazard card. None of the 3 cards drawn this turn have special abilities, so we cannot take any special actions. Rather than spend additional life points, we can concede defeat to the Hazard card. We must pay life points to the reserve matching the number of points we are missing to win the Hazard. So in this turn, we failed to defeat the Hazard by 2 points, and therefore lose 2 life points to the reserve. When we fail to defeat a Hazard, we have the option of permanently removing fighting cards from the game. We can destroy one face-up fighting card per life point lost. Since we lost 2 life points, we can destroy up to 2 of the face-up fighting cards. Each fighting card costs 1 life point to destroy, as indicated on each card. The aging cards, which will be encountered later in the game, will cost 2 life points to destroy. Since we can destroy 2 cards, let's destroy the fighting cards with fighting values of -1 and 0. We can remove both of these cards permanently from the game and place them in the destroyed fighting card pile. We will then place the remaining fighting card onto the Robinson discard pile. And since we did not defeat the hazard card, we'll place it on the hazard discard pile. So each turn you will either defeat the hazard card and convert it to your fighting deck, or you will fail to defeat the hazard card and lose life points. But when you do lose life points, you'll be able to also get rid of some weaker cards. Losing some turns strategically during the early part of the game can actually help you build a stronger fighting deck. When you deplete the Robinson fighting deck, you must reshuffle the discards to form a new deck and place them back on the Robinson storage board. The storage board reminds you that each time you start a new Robinson deck, you must draw the top aging card from the aging deck and shuffle it into the Robinson deck. Aging cards are negative cards that detract from your fighting abilities. When you deplete the hazard deck, you must reshuffle the discarded hazard cards and start a new draw deck. The storage board reminds you must also remove the active phase card and replace it with the next phase card. Recall that you will need to defeat the hazard points as indicated by the phase color you are currently playing. You must survive all 3 playthroughs of the hazard deck before you can complete the final challenge of defeating the pirate ships. When you do reach the final battle, you can choose either of the 2 pirates to fight first. You treat each pirate ship like a hazard card. The number on the left shows the number of free cards you can draw. The number on the right shows the hazard value you have to match or exceed to defeat the pirate card. If there are any special conditions, they will be listed on the bottom of the card. So you'll be drawing your free cards up to the indicated limit and adding their fighting values. You may need to use the special abilities listed on the cards to increase your fighting points. If necessary, you can also spend life points to draw additional cards. You just have to keep in mind that you will have a second pirate to fight. So you have to be strategic about how many life points you want to spend on the first pirate battle. In other words, the more strategically you can use your special abilities, the fewer life points you will have to spend on additional cards. If the pirate card shows an asterisk, you must fight all of the remaining hazard card values. This means that you must add all the red hazard values of all remaining hazard cards. This will be the number you must meet or exceed with fighting points. You must also add all of the free card values to show the total of free cards you can draw. You can then proceed to draw your free cards to start the battle. When you defeat the second pirate, you win the game. Friday is not a memory game, so anytime during the game you can always do any of the following. Look through the Robinson and Hazard discard piles. Count the number of cards in all 3 draw decks, and look at the destroyed cards. You have just seen how level 1 is played. The rules provide setup instructions for 4 different difficulty levels. Now let's review the winning and losing conditions of the game. If you survive all of the hazards in all 3 phases, you can fight the pirate ships. If you can match their defenses and defeat both pirate ships, you win the game. There are 3 ways to lose the game. If you need to pay a life point during the game but have none left, you are allowed to have 0 life points, just not negative life points. If you draw all of your fighting cards and do not have enough fighting points to defeat the pirates. Or if you need to shuffle your Robinson deck but have no aging cards remaining to add to the next shuffle, Robinson dies of aging. For each game, you can calculate victory points to see how your Friday skills are improving. Scoring allows you to keep a log of your games so you can track how you are doing as you try playing at different levels. To calculate victory points, first, add all of the fighting points of your Robinson cards, including the discarded ones. Deduct 5 points for each aging card regardless of each card's value. Add 15 points for each defeated pirate ship, and ignore undefeated pirates. Add 5 points for each remaining life point, and deduct 3 points for each hazard card, including the discards. And yes, it is possible to have a negative score. This concludes this review of Friday. Visit us at these sites and don't forget to leave a comment to share your experience with the game, or to let us know what games you would like to see reviewed and played. And if you'd like to experience something greater than escaping a deserted island after defeating bloodthirsty pirates, stick around for our disclaimer. Coming up next.